All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world you are streaming here on these various social media platforms. As I get 30 seconds. Look at that news. Right as we drop. Right as we drop. I was about to say this is going to be one of the more chaotic Q&As because we are waiting on one of the biggest CLV spots of the season, which is Cade Cunningham's and Jalen Duren's status with the Detroit Pistons tonight against the Chicago Bulls. We know that most of this team is out. I've got it already queued up here, and this is going to obviously be the play of the day. It is Cade Cunningham just ruled out in Detroit. This is a banger right here. I'm going to be getting down as much as I possibly can within, let's see, what's the liquidity on this? Just give me an extra 20 here on Cade Cunningham out for the Detroit Pistons as we go live. I was trying to time the beginning of this show so that we dropped and I could hype up a little bit the size of the CLV that we have available to us. It's been a minute since on this show we've been able to wait for that breaking news to hit, and then we take advantage of it. And the board is going to light up because it's a 12-game slate in the association tonight. And we're going straight to ProfitX here because obviously this is a big deal. Okay, I'm already in. I was in earlier today. That Cade Cunningham epic performance, and it's a courageous performance. This was the easiest way to tell if someone was just reading the box scores after the game versus watching that performance against the Washington Wizards. Because it was the Wizards, everyone was like, oh, you needed all that to beat the Wizards. First of all, CJ McCollum is very worthy of going punch for punch with someone like Cade Cunningham. Number two, the fall that he took on his hip, his tailbone, halfway through the fourth quarter, he had to be carried off the court. He returned to the game anyway. Then they go to overtime for 5 extra minutes after he hits that pass in the corner to Danis, whatever his name is, Danny Canis, or with all due respect, I don't remember the name, forces overtime. Career high points for Cade Cunningham. First time since 1973, there's been a 40-plus point, 10 assists, 10 rebound, 5 steal, triple-double. They needed every bit of his usage because this team doesn't have half of its players. I don't know how they're going to be able to field an NBA roster tonight. Out is Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren, still questionable, Isaiah Stewart, Karis LeVert. Everybody's out. Everyone's out for Detroit. Dennis Jenkins. So I was in on the Bulls this morning at 1. I bet the money line. I just bet 2 here on screen with you guys. This is going to be a big CLV spot once Jalen Duren, if he's ruled out, he's not participating in shoot around right now. So Cade wasn't either. They didn't show up to shoot around at practice earlier today, and they're not at shoot around before the game begins, which means Detroit could be headed into this one with like 6 or 7 guys. Okay. I was really hoping we got 5 minutes there for me to hype up. I was going to encourage you guys, get your fingers ready to hit the button, because when news like that drops, you have between 10 and 15 seconds to get your bets in before the market moves. I am on the Detroit Pistons team total under. And what's happened in these CLV spots this season thus far? The major ones that we went through, the Golden State Warriors losing to the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis, the Atlanta Hawks missing their entire team, ended up winning a game straight up against the Lakers. The Lakers beat the Portland Trailblazers straight up without Reeves and Luka Doncic. These lines were swinging by 8-9 points, and the team the CLV was working against ended up winning straight up. But all I can do is beat markets, people, and that's why you got to have your notifications on for the stream, especially on a 12-game slate in the NBA like tonight. There are going to be opportunities every time there is a major questionable game time decision. Thank you. Bless you. What's up with you people? How you doing? That was the best night of the best game of the season so far is obviously opening night, Rockets Thunder, but the best slate of the season goes to Monday night. Every game felt like a buzzer beater. And even the one that was a blowout had Grayson Allen scoring a career high 42 points on 10 3-pointers. And it got ruined the next day because that's when the Nico news dropped. And the Milwaukee Bucks on the second leg of a road back-to-back go in there. They get that win. Can I ask the chat, while you're here, I've now posed this question to my two co-hosts on the SiriusXM show, the 2 episodes we've done since it happened. If PJ Washington steps to the free throw line, makes the first 2 free throws, that means there's no fire Nico chance, which lasted what felt like an eternity because both teams were subbing in all of their big guys, and it took a minute. And you could just hear the fire Nico. If PJ Washington makes all those free throws, if they go to overtime and win that game, is Nico Harrison still the general manager of the team today? I said yes. That doesn't mean he may be the general manager of the team next week, but I thought it might buy him an extra couple of days. I'll wait to see what you guys have to say, but welcome in. Sorry, that was a little chaotic start to the show, but you guys can certainly understand why. This whole show is meant to be waiting on news in the event a major CLV, which stands for closing line value, for those of you that don't know. The same way you would want to buy his stock before you know it's going to jump, right? Without it being insider trading, waiting on injury news like everyone else. But Cade, I am all in on the Bulls tonight without Josh Giddey. He has been out as well. But if you beat the number, I feel pretty good about it. And I've done that. I've done my part. Now the Bulls need to go out there and do theirs. He was getting fired next loss. I do agree with that because there was so much reporting from Mark Stein and Tim McMahon and Tim Kidd, all these guys who follow the team and are beat writing. They were suggesting that the relationship had crumbled and it was a matter of if, but when. And that's why I posed the question. If PJ Washington makes those free throws and they win the game, I still think he's hanging around by a thread. Who gets the first Nico podcast episode? I got a good response last night from someone who proposed the new Ringer show with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul. Obviously, Rich Paul and Nico are close because Anthony Davis is a mutual client. They've worked a lot together. Max Kellerman is an interview pro. It feels like the spot where if Nico, and Spotify could certainly make it worth his while, if Nico decided to go on a podcast and the women tell all of the Bachelor franchise, we'll do that with Nico Harrison's version. That seems like an appropriate place to debut a podcast. There is no fixing the Grizzlies. Isalo is going to have to go because Ja Morant is just not ever going to be on the same page. You can't fire Ja Morant. Sorry, that sneeze made me tingly. It's unfortunate. And Tomas Isalo may end up coaching less games than Adrian Griffin did before he was fired in Milwaukee. But that's a disaster. That team is just not competitive. Last night, 7 first-half turnovers from Ja Morant. And you could hear on the MSG broadcast, I don't know how many of you were watching the game, but if you're watching the Knicks broadcast specifically, he walked by the broadcast table courtside, and he may have overheard what Novak and, it wasn't Mike Breen, whoever was doing the call for MSJ. I hope Clyde's okay, by the way. Haven't heard Clyde on the call in a while. He walked by the table and he said, "No, I'm not trying to get hurt out here," as he was walking by. And it's vague. Hold on a second. Huh. That's interesting. You guys see this? That Willie Green in his pregame press conference was just asked, the last couple of home games, they haven't introduced you during the introductions. No head coach intro. Was that your choice? And the answer is no. He's probably next. I can't believe he hasn't been fired yet. Sorry, a lot going on today, people. Wow. Yeah, they lose this game tonight. It's going to be, I don't know. That Pelicans team is just so unresponsive to his direction. But Gail Benson does not want to spend the money on another coach. Like, she is holding on to every dollar. It's got to be the reason why he has not been let go yet, because the players are just on another planet, not receiving that instruction. What was I talking about? Oh, Ja Morant. So, yeah, he was saying as he walked by that scores table or broadcast table, "No, I'm not trying to get hurt out here." And while it was vague, the way I interpret that was like, I'm not going up there and sacrificing my body for this team, for this coach. You kidding me? Because we've known him to be so violent in seeking out rim warfare, body to body contact, 4 feet above the floor. Like, he gets up, man. And he's like, nah, I'm not doing that anymore, as long as the team is in the current standing. So that's just my personal opinion and how I interpreted what we heard during the telecast last night. But 7 first half turnovers. He barely ever drives, and like, he's so Jimmy Butler on the Heat when Jimmy was just standing in the corner shooting one-legged threes and just disengaged and a shadow of his old self. Part of me thinks that it's not physical limitations, more so a choice. What else we got in the chat here? Anthony Davis fell through. Well, yeah. How would Nico makes that trade and he gets Kyrie Irving. He gets Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis on the floor concurrently for 3 total quarters before he's fired. In a vacuum, that's pretty ridiculous that he wasn't able to see out his vision. Why was he granted all that freedom if he couldn't see it out till the end? Was the pressure just that high? Was the vitriol being spewed every game just too much for Patrick Dumont to take? More Detroit Pistons news just dropped. Beef stew out against the Bulls officially. Still waiting on Jalen Duren, but that's making that Bulls bet look even better. Once again, I am all in on the Bulls tonight. I hope you got in as well. You can always hedge out before tip-off, too, if you've beaten the market. Anthony Davis. So with the Mavericks, yeah, no opportunity there. Why does he have free reign to operate without any ownership sign-off on a trade of that magnitude if he's not able to see it to the finish line? And what those fans did well and efficiently, for sure, was like doing protests. You get a bunch of teenagers who cut school and go create a TikTok outside the arena, like fire Nico. That'll get you a couple thousand views and be relevant for about 15 minutes. That's never going to have ownership change their mind. But relentless fire Nico chants at these games, and then you hitting the owners in sports where it matters the most, and that's their wallets. So the 24-year sellout streak came to a close. Ratings have collapsed. People are turning off the Mavericks. If there's ever a content creator, a network personality, or something you want to see fail, telling them they suck, dunking on them on Twitter and getting 10,000 retweets for some witty retort is never the proper way to do it. You have to tune them out and take away their power, which is engagement. So when the Mavericks fans start speaking with their wallets, now all of a sudden those chants get louder and louder. Patrick Dumont sitting courtside. Enough was enough, and it was finally the time. So that is the proper way. Jalen Duren officially out. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Jalen Duren out for Detroit tonight. They may have only 7 players. Their entire team is out. Karis LeVert, Jaden Ivey. It's going to be beef stew, Tobias Harris, Ja Morant out. Ja Morant out in Boston tonight. I told you this is going to be busy. Busy. Now, this line is already reflected. But this is not a scramble and bet the Celtics, especially laying 8.5 points at home. Both teams on the second leg of a back-to-back. Boston coming off the road. But the number is factored in here because Ja Morant was predicted to be out earlier. So the 2 points have been added. Ja Morant out for the Grizzlies here. Okay. Where were we? Back to the action. Okay, back to the chat. Sorry. What did I think of the Blazers and Magic closing efforts on Monday? Desmond Bain needed that shot, that's for sure. This is the exact game last year, by the way, at Madison Square Garden in November, when everyone was gassing up the Magic because of their start. They had a nationally televised TNT game in an NBA Cup match, and they ended up getting dusted so bad they were irrelevant for the rest of the season. That was also the Karl-Anthony Towns game where he was backing down Mo Wagner, and he gave that look. He was like, he looked right at the camera and he went, Are you serious? And then turn around, fade away right between his eyes. So this is an opportunity now for the Magic to go up against legitimate competition, who is pretty obviously the best team in the East. Favorite AD landing spot? Oh, God. What's the market for Anthony Davis like? So if you trade Anthony Davis, you're telling me the haul for Luka Doncic was Max Christie, a first-round pick, and then whatever Anthony Davis returns, which is not going to be that much. No one's taking a risk on him. Still a very good player when he's on the floor, but you can't trade all assets to acquire that man when he can't. He has a calf injury that they're worried about him rupturing an Achilles with, in addition to everything else. That is on the verge of being the worst trade of all time. If we're not there already, what he returns on a market, especially since he wasn't able to see out until see if the Mavericks can make a run at the championship. They didn't even give it a chance. That will be the worst trade of all time in professional sports in North America. What's up, Coach Mike? Fighting traffic to get free food from an Indian food truck and then the new Mediterranean place. You know, I'm always down to hear about Mediterranean food. That is delicious. What's up, Prophet X? Hey, Wob, would love to hear your thoughts on the two new NBA specials, Luka versus SGA points tonight. Will AD be traded by the trade deadline? Okay. Well, since you're here, I'll take a look. I will take a look. What is going on? Is this computer like melting down? What just happened? Why is it flickering? Everything is flickering. This is not great. What? How do I get out of this? I don't think this is the website. No, it's my computer. What the hell is happening? Give me a second here. StreamYard. For as much as I despise OBS, StreamYard is kind of letting me down right now. Well, this is a problem. I would love nothing more than to pull it up on the screen. But clearly, anyone ever dealt with this on StreamYard before? What is happening? I can't X out of it. I'm in the middle of a damn stream. Okay. Well, you guys are just going to have to deal with me, unfortunately. So Prophet X does say in the chat that there are two options, Luka versus SGA points tonight. And will AD be traded by the trade deadline? Are you able to transmit what those odds are in the chat? Because pretty clearly, maybe I try expanding it full screen. This will help. This is crazy. I've never seen this before. I've had this MacBook Pro for 5 years, and I've never had a single issue with it. Ever. Is it the beginning of the end? I don't even know how I'm going to get out of the stream when I'm done with it. But for now, you're just kind of stuck with me. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Okay, I think I'm finding my way out of it. Hold on. Give me a second here, people. This is ridiculous. I'm just going to start clicking and hoping. SGA is minus 110. Luka is, well, that worked. Okay, at least I'm back on screen. Sorry. Okay. Well, you're just kind of going to be stuck with me for the remainder of the stream because my computer just melted down on me. Anything else? I've been doing some research and found out that Wemby has made 0 field goals when Mitchell Robinson was guarding him. And how much time, though? That can't be that high quantity of minutes. SGA minus 110, Luca plus 100. Okay, so that's for tonight. Luca versus SGA. More points scored. Okay. Probably leaning towards, gosh. Yeah, I'll go with SGA just because of OKC's defense. We have an official update from the Warriors. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler will play against the Spurs tonight. What do I think will happen with the Grizzlies? Tomasi Salo will be fired at some point. That's what I think will happen. Oh, Karras is playing tonight. Oh, yeah, Karras is going to go. Karras' usage is going to be nuts. Jonathan Kuminga should play tonight as well. He was questionable coming in. Gosh, these alerts on a 12-game slate are just coming in every 5 seconds here. Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby. Mitchell Robinson back in the lineup for the Knicks tonight. Officially. Spurs are doing what did you say, Helwick? Spurs are doing such a great job closing games this year. Very different from years prior. Well, yeah. They're running so good right now that even when Dylan Harper gets hurt, it just happens to align with when De'Aaron Fox was ready to return. I was of the people concerned with how you're going to play all these guys that are quite redundant and or overlapping set of skills. Can't put Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper all on the floor at the same time. I guess you could try, but it doesn't matter right now. This is such a bummer. I have no clue how I'm going to end the stream. My computer is a blank screen right now. All I see is one little window with me in the bottom left corner. Otherwise, it's what you guys saw earlier, just a blank navy blue screen. I can't click around or do anything, so I'm going to have to hard turn off the computer, I think, at the end of the stream. At least this is still working. I don't know how that's possible. What else is on your guys' mind? Got 20 minutes left. That's all I had on. That's all I was on the forefront of my mind. I will now. I do a better job of answering the questions in the chat. OKC. Oh yeah, that was first week of the season. OKC, Indiana, and Golden State, Denver. Yeah. Keldon Johnson was gonna be the first man out of that. What room do you have to play him? Because is he going to take Harrison Barnes's role? No. They need a Harrison Barnes on this team, whether he plays or not. I know, Steve. I know he's the vibes guy, but he was definitely the candidate. He also doesn't have a major commitment with his contract in years or money, so he would have to be someone who's packaged. But why fix something that's not broken? I guess having this much depth has never been a bad problem to have. It took three hockey shifts of Indiana Pacers for them to finally be defeated. They had so many guys able to play. It was like, all right, unless we lose 7 or 8 of them, we're fine. And they did. Yeah, I know Keldon's been good too, man. How do you keep finding PT for all these dudes? The Spurs have gone from outside of the playoff picture to now I've got them hovering with the Houston Rockets right underneath the war machines of Denver and OKC. I'd say those two are the fringe contenders in the West. There's some very steep tiers. It goes OKC, Denver. Right below them, Houston, San Antonio, and then a steep fall off, even with the Lakers until we get LeBron back. Of teams that I'm taking seriously in the West. Oh, can you believe I lost I put my ProfitX play on Twitter yesterday, and it was Sabonis's under. So Sabonis decides to go out there and score like the first 10 points of the game. He had a chest or a rib injury, so I thought he might be limited. He's in foul trouble for most of the game. And then he steps onto the floor and hits his one shot, the 1 3-pointer at the end to just sneak his over. That's what it took for that bet to lose. That was capped perfectly. Hardly played. Shadow of his old self. And then all the buckets he got in the beginning were just Denver sleeping and treating the first quarter apathetically because it was the Kings. That team is horrendous, by the way. I think it's too early to say San Antonio is 2024 OKC territory. They have the guy in Wemby because you have to have an MVP candidate to be able to emulate that. I'm going to let it breathe a little bit. Tonight will be you got this internally fighting Warriors team that's lost 6 straight games on the road, get embarrassed last night. Steph's back, not on a minutes restriction. This will be a good test for them. I think the Warriors are going to come out to play tonight. Yeah, Sohan too. Nikola Jokic has hit 78 of 100 2-point field goals. So last night he was 16 of 19 from the floor. I had this conversation on the show earlier today, and I'm curious as to what the chat thinks. So Kings Nuggets tips off at 11:10 p.m. Eastern time. And I go, Antonio, what do you mean don't duck your question? Was it a question worth answering? What was it? I'm scrolling. I don't see any questions from you, bud. Did you delete the comment? You trolling me? You could re-ask it. Okay. My question to Antonio was, because I know he goes to bed early too. I'm like, did you stay up to watch the Nuggets and Kings last night? He was like, hell no. Okay. That game tipped off. So local time here in Los Angeles, if you're on the West Coast, I looked at the clock. It ended around 10:47 local time, which is 1:47 Eastern. And if you're someone with an MVP vote, this is easily the best start to any Nikola Jokic season thus far. And he has the best team he's ever had. He has as many triple doubles as the rest of the NBA. He's got ridiculous shooting stats. The team is amazing. It checks every box. And if he was winning the MVPs back then, there's no case why he shouldn't now, except Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does exist, and OKC is also as good, if not better, than last year. Okay. But I'm more curious about the average MVP voter, who is usually a beat writer for a specific team or a city, and they're traveling with said team. They're traveling, covering one team. And we are reliant on them, not saying that they don't, but I think it's unrealistic to demand that every MVP voter is watching every dribble of every game, when the whole reason why they have an MVP vote, Derek Lively's out tonight officially for the Mavericks, by the way. I would love to be able to go to ProfitX, but my computer's broken. What was I saying? Oh, can't expect every MVP voter to be as knowledgeable as someone who is sitting in a command center with 10 TVs up watching all games at once, because the whole reason why they have a vote is likely due to their work with that specific team or that one avenue of content. And then, okay, then they go home, they should be watching the games. Well, some of these people have families, they need to sleep, and it's just unrealistic for them to be able to speak at a level that someone that's watching every dribble of every game is. And then when we get to the voting process, some of these beat writers, of course, are their natural human bias is going to be towards the team that they're covering because they have the most coverage. They have the most knowledge of said team. They might be in favor with some of the. They want to be someone who doesn't vote the player or MVP or defensive player of the year when I have to cover them every day. I'll lose access if I don't vote them. There's just a lot of different biases that go into this. So when a game tips off that late and no one's watching, my question is is anyone know what Jokic is doing right now? Because a lot of these Nuggets games are the prime time late game. And the results of which is that plus voter fatigue equals it's Jokic. We know he's great. Thanks. Like, no. Y'all don't understand. If you thought he was good before, you need to see what's happening right now, whether it's analytically in the box score, the eye test, all the above. It's Sabonis. Yeah, I've been seeing those rumblings that the Kings are looking to move Sabonis. I don't even know what the Kings can do. That team is so irrelevant, and they're going to be stuck in 10th place, 11th place for the next 5 years if currently constructed the way that they are. For some reason, Dennis Schroeder in the NBA is not the same Dennis Schroeder when he's on Team Germany, who's like the best player in the world. They're relying on Westbrook to carry their offense sometimes. Ugh. Westbrook's like their best player. That's where we're at right now. Steve Kerr says there's going to be changes to the starting lineup. We have the official starting lineup for the Pistons: Jenkins, Robinson, Green, Holland, Reed. Oh my God. If I lose this bet to that team, if the Chicago Bulls lose to that team with Javonte Green, B-ball Paul Reed, I'm going to be pretty pissed. Ron Holland, with all due respect, Jenkins, who hit the game-winning shot. This is a 48-minute game. You cannot lose to that. Oh, and there's a stat. Oh, did I delete it? I think I did. Damn it. I got it back. Are you guys ready for this? So Nikola Jokic's VORP, or net rating on-off stats, have always been a topic of conversation. Good news is I have them in front of me. You ready for this? This just speaks to how good the Nuggets are this year. Starting in 2021-2022, and Jokic became a viable MVP candidate. With him on the court, plus 8.4. Came off the court, minus 7.9. The next season, plus 12.5, minus 10.4. The following season, plus 11.8, minus 8.6. Last year, plus 10.5 Jokic on, minus 9.3 Jokic off. You know what it is this year? Those are all, once again, 20-point differentials, and it's close to 20 again this season. But with Jokic on the court, it's plus 19.7. And Jokic off the court is only minus 1.3, which means for the first time in Jokic's MVP tenure being with this Denver Nuggets team, they are not close to a minus 10 when he's off the floor in any game. Minus 1.3 means the bench is holding down the fort near net zero. That is the significant improvement that bringing in Bruce Brown, Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jonas Valanciunas, they have hit all the buttons properly. They are the true contenders in the West, and they were last year. They took OKC to 7 games with Aaron Gordon on 1.5 legs without that bench. Why is everyone beating around the bush about how fishy the Luka trade was outside of typical talking points? Lakers get handed the star LeBron dreamed about playing with, and the Mavs magically get the number 1 pick. Okay, so I don't think this is anything to do with LeBron, because LeBron now is no longer the focus or center of attention. He's been the center of attention with the exception of maybe the first year in Miami, where he was acquiescing to Miami-Wade County. But LeBron does not take a backseat to anyone. So LeBron, you can remove LeBron from your conspiracy theory. Magically get the number 1 pick. Okay, well, let's just create a hypothetical here, M. Dalla, and say the NBA was colluding to get the Dallas Mavericks the pick to say, thank you for sending Luka to Los Angeles. Do you understand the $1 billion worth of fraud that they would be charged with and how illegal that is. That's why they hire Ernst & Young to oversee the process of the draft lottery, to ensure there is no collusion and all of that exposure and liability they would have in court. We're talking gazillions of dollars they would be sued for fraud, civil cases, class action lawsuits, all the above. Whatever getting Luka to Los Angeles is worth it to them, I promise is not the same as what they could potentially lose. So no need for that. NBC not giving us double headers is bad too. Well, yeah, the reason for them doing that is so you get your local news at 11 o'clock, primetime viewing, and you can still watch the games through Peacock. So I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry that you're stuck looking at me this whole time, because it sure would be nice to be able to put some things on the screen, but my computer is just not working, so I don't know what to tell you. That's why I make my name ProfitX, just in case like there's a just in case there's an issue with tech and additional branding. That's kind of where we're at. But hey, if you guys at ProfitX are still in the chat, feel free to drop in any major line movers, and I'll be sure to read them, because I can't show them at the moment. Once again, I've had this MacBook Pro since 2020. I've never had a single glitch. I've never had a single virus. I've never had I don't know if it's like an ad blocker that's messing with it. I know StreamYard just dropped that Mars update, by the way. Did you guys see this? That anyone who uses StreamYard, they completely revamped the site because now it's Mars. And ever since they did it, this shit ain't working. Usually I reserve my venom for OBS. The worst at it. They are the worst. Anytime they have a good version of OBS, oh, let's just update it immediately and break it. Why can't they just keep it? Yeah, at least I'm working. That's the most important part, Jay. Thank you for it's just Q&A, live podcast style. What else you guys got tonight? You guys know I'm going to be cranky if Chicago does not win this game. I also have Detroit's team under at 117.5. I booked that this morning. I'm sure that collapsed. I'm all in. I am all in. I need a W. I also have all the Milwaukee Bucks overs. Because when Giannis was out, I booked all the players. Oh, we have a comment from Coach Kidd. He's responding to fire Nico chants at Mavs home games. It's hard to keep guys here when they feel that the home team is not. Hopefully that changes tonight. Speaking towards the players, feeling uncomfortable, understandably so, when they're playing in front of the home team and they're just chanting, fire Nico, we hate all of you. Right? That was part of the process of part of the reasoning for pulling the plug on this before he could see it to the end. Because even if the Mavericks were the number one seed in the Western Conference, there would still be fire Nico chants, because you traded a guy that means more than just basketball to us. There were people emotionally hurt. I don't want you in my life anymore. How about this lineup for the Cavs tonight? They're sitting their starters. They got Lonzo Ball, Dean Wade, Merrill in there. DeAndre Hunter's the big man. Oh, geez. Have to imagine Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell. They went out and got themselves a little one oak Luenza, a little livitis. What's the big club in Miami? Space something? Why should I take that under, Helwick? Is it snowing? Snow's usually good for overs in football. It's rain and wind are unders. Snow's impossible to defend. You can't backpedal in snow. Space Club, is that it? Is that the one that turns into a strip club at 4 a.m.? Not that I would know. That's why I'm asking. Did I take anything in the Spurs or Lakers game? I did not. I'm on all the I'm on Milwaukee's player prop overs, but I have them at numbers that were pre-Giannis announcement. So I have like Ryan Rollins at what, 10 and a half, 11 and a half. Ridiculous. I have Cole Anthony at like 6 or 7 and a half. Miles Turner at 12 and a half. You can't think like that, Helwick. I need a better angle than the two worst scoring offenses in college football. You think Vegas doesn't know that? And sometimes when offenses in football are that bad, they can't move the chains, and then they just end up punting and giving the team the ball in the 50, and they score just based on a field position game. That's why Iowa is so good for the under, because they can move the football running it, and then they eat up clock. If you throw 3 straight incompletions, what does that do for me if I'm holding an under ticket? All that did was take 15 seconds off the clock. And now you got to punt deep in your own zone. That is better for an over than it is an under. You need a team that can move the ball and not score. And Iowa is just brilliant at that. And I was so close. God, I have Oregon not to make the playoff at plus 200. And Iowa holds on that game, and I can practically cash it. Damn it. I need to know about wind and rain. I need weather with college football unders. There's lake effect snow going on in Buffalo, Syracuse area. Perhaps that part of the country. A lot of weather up there. That's a long-ass question, Jay. So now, since your last live, where do you rank the duo of Luka and Austin in terms of the best backcourts in the NBA? I said last live they were top 3 backcourt in the league. I believe you disagreed. Do you still feel the same? I can't say that I do, because Austin Reeves just continues to go out there, and he's the perfect complement to Luka. I don't know how this is going to work when LeBron comes back. You have to, of course, make room for him, but that is the highest usage guy of all. Austin Reeves going to go back to being a gargoyle in the corner. Like, he is so good. He needs to be spearheading that offense alongside Luka. And I love what JJ did in that Charlotte game. He is so masterful about staggering the minutes so that Austin is out there by himself and Luka's out there by himself for as long as possible. And then they start the game and close the game together. Let those two cook, because they're worthy of it. I think that's super smart when you have 2 high usage guys like that. 2 gravity creators. You want to have them on the floor at the same time, I understand. But if you don't have the luxury of LeBron James, that's the way to do it. There's never a moment where the Lakers offense feels like, oh, how are we going to survive these next 5 minutes? Because it's just the 2 of them checking in for each other. But best backcourts in the league, Luka, Reeves. What else did I suggest was worthy of this? Shea and whoever. Shea and somebody, right? Just go at Cade and who? And also backcourts. There's no such thing as positions anymore, as the NBA All-Star selection process has now shown us, which is ridiculous, by the way. Are we just trying? Do they have a shame kink? They're just shaming these players and put more increasingly ridiculous All-Star game formats until they actually start trying. You don't have to keep gimmicking USA versus the world with a round robin tournament. And then if there's not enough world players, we're going to pick the ones that are closest to being world players and put a uniform on. What the fuck? What are we doing? They're not going to give a shit. This All-Star game's in Los Angeles. They're going to be at the Delilah every night partying. They're going to show up, get a little light lather going, little sweat. They're not trying in that game. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it, honestly. I'm starting to get close to I don't even care anymore. Lake effects, no, real thing. All right, people, we are past 4 p.m. Pacific time. Lineups have locked. We are getting ready for 12 game slate in the association tonight. 12 game slate. It's going to be a busy night. Go Bulls. Please, Bulls, please. ProfitX, I apologize. I was only able to use you guys at the beginning of today's stream. My computer is still very broken, and I'm about to sign off, and I have no clue how I'm going to turn the stream off. I have no clue. Am I just going to have to pull the cord? We're going to find out. Do I have any favorite rookies this season? Yeah. Caleb Wilson, Chapel Hill. That's my rookie. I'm not talking about no Con Knuppel and Cooper Flagg. You know who you're talking to? You got it, guys. It's been a pleasure. I'll be back same time, same place on Friday. Until then, you're just going to stare at me, clicking buttons until I figure out how to make this work. Get this screen back. I'm going to try this. Nope, that didn't work. This. That didn't work. Am I just closing the whole quit Google Chrome? Let's try that. Okay, this might be goodbye, people. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully this works because I don't know what to do. Goodbye.